Welcome to the Richard Sherman Podcast. Hit that sub button if you're new. We're here to give you great NFL content. Please tune in. Now let's move on to my favorite game, my game of the week that I thought would be a really fun matchup between the Washington Commanders and the Baltimore Ravens. Jayden Daniels. I wanted to see how he would stand up against a true contender in the AFC, a team that was in the AFC Championship, that's been perennial contenders, that's always got a really strong defense. Lamar Jackson does not lose to NFC teams for some reason, and he did not lose this day. Jayden Daniels was 24-35, 269, 2 touchdowns, a pretty solid game. Didn't get as much on the ground as he had in previous games. They had a good plan for him. They put a lot of pressure on him. Terry McLaurin, 6 catches for 53 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dante Fowler had 2 sacks, was an impact player all day in this game. But Lamar Jackson, again, incredible. 20 of 26, 323, 1 touchdown. Did throw the interception early in the game, but Derrick Henry continues to make this team go and continues to be the engine that this team relies on early and, of course, late in ball games. 24 rushes for 132, 2 touchdowns, leads the NFL with 9 rushing touchdowns. He's been a factor. This team, it seems like the Baltimore Ravens, again, on the ground, getting their mojo back, getting their consistency back after a really head-scratching loss against the Las Vegas Raiders, and a loss that you can understand against the reigning Super Bowl champs and the Kansas City Chiefs. They have fixed their formula. They're running the ball more than ever, and when they're not running the ball, Lamar Jackson is finding his way through the air, being efficient with the football, taking his shots when he can. They're running more quarterback powers, and he's getting some gains there. But having Derrick Henry, I think they're over the last 6 games, they're the greatest rushing duo to ever step foot in the National Football League. I'm talking about quarterback and running back together. It's been incredible. They've won 4 straight. Derrick Henry is the first player since LaDainian Tomlinson in 2005 with a rushing touchdown in 6 straight games. And he's not just getting the 1-yard touchdowns. He's getting long gains, big gains. He's wearing defensives down. He's the last of the great, every down back, downhill, I formation, fullback in front, downhill backs that is left in the National Football League. There are some really good backs in it, but they're more versatile. Alvin Kamara, you got Christian McCaffrey, who's obviously injured right now. You got a lot of backs who catch the ball out of the backfield. Saquon Barkley out in Philadelphia, but he's the last of the old school football backs that just, hey, line him up an eye, downhill, 24 carries. He's going to wear down this defensive line, wear down these linebackers, and continue to punish them. Hey, the Baltimore Ravens are playing just incredible football, both sides of the football. They're playing incredible ball, both sides. And defensively, they were able to corral Jayden Daniels in a way that teams haven't been. This is the number 1 and number 2 scoring offenses in the National Football League. They were able to hold the Washington Commanders to 23 points. We're going to move on to the Eagles versus the Browns, which was just, not a fun game to watch. I thought both defenses played solid. There were times, again, that Deshaun Watson looked like his old self. Second half, he started off with 8 straight completions. Not long completions by any stretch, but completions, and found a little bit of a rhythm. They were getting a little bit of a rhythm on the ground. Foreman went out for a while, but came back. The Philadelphia Eagles really missed all day, always open. A.J. Brown, he had a huge game. He came in and made a huge impact immediately, and that's where Jalen Hurts was looking early and often. Devontae Smith had a big-time grab in the game as well, but they only beat the 1-5 Browns 20-16. And when you have your head coach, who's obviously a human being, and when you're a human being, you hear the noise. When they're chanting "fire you" during a game in which you win, I personally would have turned around and said, "Hey, I got some choice words for y'all too." Like, y'all, I can't say it on air. This is a PG show, or is it PG-13? But I would have had the same energy for him. But in this league, when you have that energy for him, there's going to come with a lot of conversations, a lot of questions, a lot of ridicule. And I expect him to have to answer some questions That was a big win, but they did not win by the margin that you expect them to beat a 1-5 team. And with your two weapons back, you expected them to just play and perform better offensively. You got the new coordinator defensively. Vic Fangio system seems to be starting to grow on guys, and guys starting to understand. I thought Quinion Mitchell had a good shot at an interception, but C.J. Gardner-Johnson, they came together. There was a lot of frustration, but there was a chance at a turnover. I thought Jalen Carter had a lot of impact this game. He's starting to figure this system out. They're playing like they're capable of on the defensive side. But again, when you have discourse and you got chaos of fans coming after the head coach and booing them at home in a game you're winning, and then you have the coach going back at the fans, that just doesn't make for an ideal scenario for anybody. I'm sure it'll be addressed, and I'm looking forward to hear what he thinks about that. The Texans continue to roll, and Mitchell's not going to be happy because he thinks his Detroit Lions need to move up to third in my power rankings. But the way the Houston Texans are playing, they put up 40-plus points for the first time with C.J. Stroud at the helm. He threw for 192 yards, 3 touchdowns, and the 1 interception. Joe Mixon, man, he came back with a vengeance, had 102 yards and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs had 6 catches for 77 yards and a touchdown. Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter are just fun to watch. You just see the pockets collapsing every single time they're rushing up the field. He had 3 sacks in the game, 4 TFLs, 3 quarterback hits, obviously. But he is becoming the player that they always knew he would be. I mean, 3 sacks in this game. And as I said before, they are just built the right way. The foundational pieces that you want to build your team around, the Houston Texans have. The left tackle, Laramie Tunsil, one of the best in football. You got the pass rushers now in Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. You got the corner in Stingley. You got the receivers. Obviously, Nico Collins is down for a while, but he was leading the league in receiving yards for a while when he was available. You got a good tight end in Dalton Schultz. You got a good running back, a really good productive running back in Joe Mixon, who has been a revelation. I think he's been better than even they expected him to be coming off the injury. He just looked fantastic in the pass game and the run game. And then when you lose a guy like Nico Collins, to have a veteran outstanding number 1 receiver who's been a number 1 in this league for a long time, and Stephon Diggs just step up and move right into his place. Tank Dell, again, making an impact. It's just a cool team to watch, and I still think they're going to be there near the end causing problems. I look forward to seeing which team they play later on in those rounds. Is it going to be the Baltimore Ravens or the Kansas City Chiefs? Because either way, I'm going to be sitting there with my popcorn watching. I think C.J. Stroud is going to find a way to get it done. He's the gamer, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League for a reason. Moving on to the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau facing the Arizona Cardinals. 3 fumbles recovered in that game. This defense leading the league in turnovers. My guy, Jeff Hafley, at the helm, making sure he gets these guys in the right plays, gets these guys in the right call. We had Xavier McKinney on, and he just says he has a way of talking to the players, accepting criticism, accepting feedback from the players, what they want to run, what they don't want to run. And it has this defense rolling. They're humming. They're a true contender because offensively, they're playing really well. Jordan Love playing well enough. Again, they're doing it by committee. You don't know. Romeo Doubs had 2 touchdowns today. Reed had 1. Whether it's going to be Reed, is it going to be Watson? You don't know whose day it's going to be, and I don't think they care. Josh Jacobs continues to run the ball really well, but this defense is causing turnovers at an alarming rate, and that is why they're a very dangerous team, especially late in the season. This Packers team really abused the Arizona Cardinals, who were coming off a huge win against the San Francisco 49ers, in which they ran the ball well, they threw the ball well, they defended well, and they had no answers for the Green Bay Packers. But this defense has held opponents below 20 points in 4 of their first 6 games, which is incredible. This defense, I think, has the makings of one of the best defenses in the National Football League, and they're coming together. And again, Jeff Hafley is a big reason. He's a big change. Xavier McKinney and his 5 interceptions and the 6 turnovers is also a huge part. Some of the additions they made, along with Jair Alexander and guys like Kenny Clark continuing to develop, Preston Smith continuing to be a menace, I think all those guys, Keyshawn Nixon, again, they've built a really strong secondary, a really strong defense from the front to the back, and it's been impressive. I look forward to seeing when they run into the Detroit Lions, when they have to deal with the Minnesota Vikings, which they've already played, and it didn't look great early. And then they started to find their rhythm and come through. I think it's going to be some really fun, again, games in November and December for this team.